So how's your day been, mate?
Good. What have I done? So
I saw the dog wash.
Yeah, well, he had his jab. He's due for his jab, so I took him there. Gave him a little bit of a, because he does get dirty so quickly. So I take him. It's great because these things they literally cost £3 each time, and you can just clean him yourself. Whereas normally for him, you'd probably pay about £40 for him. Yeah. Whereas at the moment, I pay about £15 and do it about twice a month. So it works out pretty good. I then cleaned my car, which was good. I trained this morning. That was okay. I'm getting to a point now where I just don't like training for like 9:30 in the morning. Just nah.
What's the sessions that you have back to back? So you have a session on a Tuesday evening and a session on Wednesday. What's the sessions that fall back to back?
So legs is on the Tuesday evening, okay, and then push is on the Wednesday morning. So yeah, when I wake up after leg, luckily we're running a bit of a D volume right now, so it's not too bad. But normally when I wake up, I feel a little bit battered, and I'm like, I've got to go train here, got to get up a little bit earlier because I want to make sure I'm really picky. I want to make sure I've got enough water in me. I've got enough time to write out my logbook, do my intro, and not have to stress about clients. So you have to get up earlier, and after leg day, I'm like, I want a bit of a lie-in, but it just doesn't happen. So yeah, that's my biggest struggle at the moment is just fucking having to train on the Tuesday and Wednesday. The rest of the week's fine, but just those 2 days just fucks me up. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I weighed my highest this morning, 175 pounds, which is good. So I'm closing on the 180, which is nice. And
I reckon when you get to 180, like this is something that I was saying to one of my mates recently, is that when I get to 180, everything starts to feel really, really good from a pressing perspective. Like something I've noticed that actually some of my pulls feel worse. Like between I think 175 to 180 is where my hip hinges are just like, they just feel immense. I don't know what it is about that weight for me, but I feel very safe, very locked in, and the pattern of a deadlift it just flies like that. There's no sticky bit. But when I get 180 and above, like I don't know, presses feel immense, but hip hinges feel a little bit worse. So it'll be interesting to see what you feel like at that point.
Because I've been stalling on the 50s on the incline now for 4 sessions in a row. 7 every single time. Can't get past 7. Can't get past it. Did it the exact same. And I was like, hoping after this D volume sort of period, I can actually start pushing that, because it just pisses you off when you get the same every single time, and you're like, what? I just don't know.
Yeah. It's especially with presses, because there's nothing you can do about it. Like you can't use a little bit of like extra willpower or mindset like you can on legs. Like if you're getting fucked up at a leg press, you can just go, right, I'm just going to destroy you, and then you get 5 up just from pure rage. And like, it might not be the safest thing to do, but it works. Whereas presses, pure rage actually drops you reps, I find.
It really does. I find if I think, like when I'm in this actual set, if I think about too much, like, oh God, I'm getting close to that 7 mark now, it just throws me off. And like the first 4 reps were moving really nicely, and in my head I was like, I've got 8 today. I've got 8 in my head, and I got to the 6th rep, and I was like, I'm nowhere near I'm not gonna get 2 extra reps here. So yeah, it fucking pisses me right off, but it is what it is. I'm hoping next week I'll be able to beat it, but I'm just gonna blame the morning sessions because I don't like them. Blame the morning. I reckon if I trained in the afternoon, I'd have the 50s for more than that, but it is what it is. How's your week been?
It's been quality, to be honest, mate. It's been a decent week so far. Absolutely buried myself with legs yesterday because I've been running like 1 set on the compounds, the hack and the leg press for like quite some time, most of the end of the prep and also post-show. So only in the last, like just before my D volume, and then I did the D volume, and then this is like the first proper week after my D volume, I've gone back up to like 2 on a hack, 2 on a leg press, and also safety bar squatting at the moment. And it's just completely like doubled the work, doubled the hardest work. So it's trashing me. So I need to find like a happy balance, because I feel like I always use the analogy with some clients. It's like, volume is like filling up a sink or a bath, a bathtub, and you let out the water with, draining the plug like you would in a deload or a devolume or a rest day. And you add like the bigger the movement, the more fluid it carries. So like, now I'm doing 2 sets of a big movement. I'm filling up the water in the bath or the sink or whatever, and I feel like today I'm definitely overflowing, like proper, like I'm spilling all over the shop. Which is.
Would you auto-regulate that, like, similar to what you said to me about if top set was just enough, there's no real need for the second set. That's exactly what I'm doing, just auto-regulating. If it's not there, then I'm not going to bother. If it is there, I'll go for it.
And how you feel the next day as well. Like today, I knew upon wake, I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. I had a few onboards to do for new clients starting up, and I knew that was going to be mentally taxing. I had a decent day with check-ins, and I woke up and like already my eyes were like burning, and like, that feeling of just like nervous system fatigue before you've even sat down at your desk. Like, oh God. So like, yeah, it's just one of those days. And to be honest, mate, I find these days when I'm mashed from training harder than I find like the days in prep where I'm like really, really lean, because I just don't like feeling like slow. Whereas in prep, I feel tired, but I still feel like there's a part of my day where I'm very, very like agile mentally. But today I've just been sort of like just a bit slower than my normal self. But good to be honest, isn't it?
I was thinking about what do I prefer the other day actually. Do I prefer contest prep or do I prefer, because I was going through a phase where it was like 10 o'clock at night and I was thinking I was a little bit behind on my food. And I was thinking I just got to eat. And I just remind myself of prep, and I was thinking those days where I just don't have to eat, like I can finish my meals off at 8:30 and I can just chill for the rest of the night. But like yesterday,
staring at the microwave for your oats.
And I was like, the other day I was just thinking, this is actually sometimes quite harder than the prep itself, like having to eat the food, like especially when you've put your food back for the day for whatever reason, it does get quite hard then. And you think, I tell myself I've got to eat because I can't skip a meal. But for me right now, I just think I don't really want to eat, but I will for the purpose of what I need to do. Because if I miss a meal, the next day I'm going to drop 2 pounds or something like that, and it's going to affect the fucking session or the rest of the week in terms of session. So it's really important. And I just try and make sure, right, I need to fucking get the meals in every single day consistently, because sometimes we get 10 o'clock and I'm like, oh, can't be bothered. But
it's all about routine, isn't it, mate? That's what we were talking about last time, like with the off season, like it's easy to fall out of what is a very consistent and good routine. And I've been there, done that, like last off season, I said to Cuba, like when I started prep, I was like, mate, I'm not nailing it. I need to not let this happen again. And he said, you fucking do, if you want to be a pro, you've got to have a pro mindset. And I did not have a pro mindset at the end of my last off season. I was lazy with meal timing, lazy with my options. But yeah, anyway, we're going to talk to a potential pro now, and he's waiting, so we better let him in and see how he's getting on.
Yeah.
Before we actually do, one last thing is, I think from both me and George, like, thank you very much for the support so far on these. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the comments as well. Even the negative ones, bastards.
Morris.
At least we all know now that I'm a Morris, George is a Morris, Jack Cad's a Morris, we're all Morrises. Let's see if Josh Bridgman is a Morris.
Names. Oh, that fucking comment.
Yeah. Here he is. He's connecting. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, that sounds like a nice mic.
Oh,
Jesus
baby.
Christ, he's got it now.
Crisp. Listen to me.
Yeah, I just realised my Mac mic is better than my actual like Blue Yeti, so I'm clearly doing something wrong here.
Oh no.
Hey, what? I was listening to your latest podcast on the way back from just getting my car washed, and fucking sounds crisp, especially when you drink your 3D. I was thinking, I'm not his mouth.
Amazing.
Mouth.
Do you like the mic? Yeah.
I'm gonna have to query on that. But anyway, Josh, how are you doing? How are things? How's your video going at the moment?
Yeah, it's all good. So I was running a little bit late, just watching the premiere, talking to people. No, it's good. I'm excited for this. I feel like I've just been waiting for this for a long time. So excited to get prep on the go. Excited to get the series on the go.
Do you feel a bit at the moment like it's not really happening, or like, because you've obviously waited for this prep a long time, do you feel a bit like sort of not quite in it at the moment, especially with the certain circumstances at the moment? Like, I remember starting mine last year, and I don't know, it's just like a weird feeling at the start before you really get into the swing of things. So how do you feel at the moment?
Yeah, I've definitely got that like transition grey area where everything obviously is on point. We're still hitting your routine. You're still, but you know, you're kind of just waiting for things to tick along and drop that little bit of body fat where you go, okay, I know I'm in a deficit now. Cool. Like let's kick on. So I'm kind of just waiting for that first little bit. But as the days go by, every day gets better, you know.
You're looking to drop a lot of weight in this prep when I was listening to the podcast.
Yeah, probably. I usually, honestly, like even when I was natural, I still lost about 20 kilos, which is a fucking lot. Like I used to do maybe like 100 to maybe a little bit less when I was natural, 15 kilos. But I did 22 kilos last year. Went from 107 to 85 in 16 weeks. So that was pretty brutal. I think I'm a little bit leaner this year, so I said about 20, 18 to 20 probably. So it's a little over a kilo a week. So it's full in there.
It kind of makes sense to your height though. Like you obviously carry more total body weight. Like it's going to sound like a lot, but you know, got to remember that me and George are like half your height.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true, true.
But yeah, I remember actually like I think it was your prep with JP. Like I remember you saying, "Oh fucking hell, like I'm scared about the amount of weight I'm gonna have to lose." And that was like you had like a lot of weight to lose. I think you had a pretty short period of time as well towards the end. And that was one of your natural preps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also remember that push up as well that you did like with Jordan as well. I'm not sure how many people know like you actually worked with Jordan. But that push up that you did, like when it was like I think you just like followed a structured food plan with him, and there was loads of, like sweet potato and things like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal. It was brutal. It was at a really poor time of my life as well. So like I didn't have the diet to look forward to. I didn't even enjoy that part. So I just kind of rubbed it all in. But I remember like I had one meal was like 200 grams of saurine. And when you're not hungry, saurine is not the nicest. And it was like 50 grams of butter, like organic butter. So I used to just lather this butter on and just like literally just like that, like grinding it in my teeth, just sucking it down. Literally that's what I was doing. I was sucking on the saurine. Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal both ways. That being with JP for it was 2 years. I did the full off season and then did a full prep. Like both of them were really, really brutal. Maybe too brutal, but yeah.
What do you think were the main lessons you actually learned out of that? Like, did that put you off bodybuilding in any shape or form, or did it make you realize the levels to the sport? Like, what did that really open your eyes to? The reason why I ask this question is because I see at the moment, like Jake is obviously extremely passionate about the dedication element to the sport, and I know you are too. And I find, you know, when I watch JP videos, he's very adamant in showing that some people don't have that. And so, like, what did it tell you, and what is it sort of like now over the course of, you know, your time working with now Cal as well? What are these people showing you in terms of like levels of dedication to this sport?
Yeah, I mean that amplified me for sure. Like I was obsessed with it before taking on a bigger coach. JP was what I'd consider my first big coach. Yeah. And it amplified everything. Like I never knew, like he pushed me really, really hard, but I never knew that I can push that hard. I didn't think what I ended up on I could do for a very long time when I did it for about 10 weeks, you know, and I was pushing and doing things that I just didn't really conceive were possible naturally, to be fair. I just assumed that it was the opposite of what happened. And you know, even when I was dragging my ass on 1600 calories, I was still strong, you know, because of the way that he came about volume control. And there was like, even though it was low food, there was still some element of feeding those sessions the best that you could. So I took a lot out, like from Jordan. I would say that the things that have changed the most since then are probably, and I'm probably say he's probably changed a little bit since then, but it was very much like hammer on nail back then. Just like, let's just see how hard we can go up. Let's see how hard we can go down. And I don't know whether that works for everyone. I don't think it worked massively for me, especially when I got lean. I just sunk away so quickly. Whether that was a natural thing or not, I don't know. But a lot more care about the aspects of bodybuilding. I don't know whether he's changed a little bit. Probably has a little bit, but back then it was very much like, let's just fucking get it done. Yeah. But in doing that, I learned how hard I could take myself and how far I could push myself.
Absolutely. I keep looking at AJ here and going, is AJ going to speak? Because he's got something else coming up. And then I think, no, he's got something to say. Then I've got something to say. I've got something to say. Then he goes on something else. And fuck, what I was going to say doesn't actually matter anymore because we've moved on from that.
Yeah, I saw you laughing. I was like killing all your topics all at once.
Yeah, I was thinking, what am I going to say? But with JP, was it, you know, in terms of like being coached, was it something that you enjoyed? Like, was it, like, obviously now with Cal, it's a lot more finer details, isn't it? But with JP, was it very much just very straight to the point, like, this is what you need to do that, I'll speak to you next week?
Largely, yeah. Largely, pretty much. You'd get answers to your questions, 100%. Like, I don't know where, but I think he pretty much openly says, like, I'm not here to like mollycoddle you through a prep. I'm here to like, make you a pro. So, I'm not here to babysit you. Like, he doesn't want to deal with the emotional side of a prep for some people, but he actually was, for me, we met up quite a few times. He was very endearing in person, very, very endearing in person. So that online facade is strong. But yeah, like ultimately he knows what needs to get done and he doesn't need to hit and he's obviously walked the walk 1,000 times. So he's just like, I don't have the patience to tell you how to walk it. Just do it. And let's fucking go, which again, for me, like it worked for a very long time. But then as like, maybe I emotionally matured a little bit. Maybe I matured a little bit in bodybuilding. I kind of realized I wanted a different approach, and I didn't even know what approach at the time. In fact, only the reason why I went away from JP was just because I was just tired. I just want to break from being all in on bodybuilding. And I had about 8 weeks off and I came straight back.
Is that when you started with Cal? Sorry.
I probably I'd actually started off myself again. So I coached myself for like maybe like 10 months or something. And then I was like, right, okay, I'm thinking about being assisted. Let me get a coach who can take me through the optimization process for a natural and then make the jump when I need to.
Okay, I thought I've lagged then. Have I lagged? Hello?
Nah, you're good. You're good, man. With the training element of things, Josh, like I was thinking back, like one of the first, I think it was the first time we trained together. I think I met you beforehand. I think it was Body Power that I first met you. And then we trained together in Brighton. We did that session. We did a leg day, and that was back when I was training in a slightly different way, and you were actually training in what was, I think, quite the new age of the low volume side of things. Like not everyone was training with a top set and a back off back then.
Yeah, it was back in the day.
Yeah, and
5 years ago now, maybe.
Yeah, like I think you couldn't walk for like 2 or 3 days because you like doubled your volume in my session or something like that.
Yeah, it is. I'll never forget it. Brutal, mate.
So, like, what I'm interested to know is like how, of course, you've now got to the point where you're chasing down pro status. Arguably, to a lot of people's eyes, you are at a pro level already. It's just about the right time, the right place. But what has changed now to specialize your training towards the goal of essentially being a pro athlete? What has changed since I first trained with you? It must have been back in 2017, 2016.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I've done since then is just stick with it and think as though and live my life like I am a pro. Do you know what I mean? Like I've molded my life for bodybuilding since whatever, a year before that day, and I've never looked back since. I've trained at the exact same time that I needed to train. I've eaten at the exact same time for the last 6 years. I think it's just been a case of sticking in for that and just acting the part, like wanting to, like what does a professional do? Right, let me backtrack that. Let me work out what they've done and let's do it. What's the excuse? That's literally it. I think I don't do much different. I just stick needles in me now. Do you know what I mean? It's literally the same.
In terms of specialization for body parts, has there been anything that you've gone through phases where you've tried to bring up a certain area for the class itself? If you like back down on your leg volume and increased on sort of like the top line volume and things like that?
Yeah, I've done exactly that for the last couple, like probably since off season began in 2019, September 2019. I've probably trained legs once a week, every single week. I've never gone more than that. I've just prioritized my upper body, pretty much all of it. And like, it's been a slog. It has been a slog. Like, I've felt the repercussions of pounding my upper body for 2 years. I do have the odd niggle in my elbows, and there are things like that you've got to consider, because it's just, the total volume is just so high over the years, and there's no break from it. But I've noticed, an appreciable amount of size in my upper body versus my lower body because of that. My legs have grown, but just not quite clearly, not like upper body has grown. And I've been doing that specifically for the last couple of years. And even probably the year before that, but in 2019, that was all, men's physique focused as such. So not too much care on the legs, keeping them at like a maintenance, maybe slightly above.
How much volume are you so how do you split like your sessions at the moment in terms of frequency, volume, around hitting muscle groups a little bit more frequently? Like, I'm guessing you're hitting your side delts a little bit more, rear delts.
Yeah.
So
I'll do push and triceps on the first day. Obviously you've got delts and a chest movement there. Then I'll do pull and biceps. Then I'll rest. Then I'll do push and arms. So I'll hit my arms again, which I'll do lateral delts on again. And then I'll do a leg session, and then I'll do a pull session, but I'll tag my delts on that as well. So I end up hitting delts every other session, arms every other session across the week. I just have that one single leg day.
One of your biggest improvements I've noticed is actually your arms, mate. I thought you've made quite big improvements to your arms. So what's not, I don't want to say what's the secret behind that, but what's been the biggest contribution to bringing up your arms over the past 2 years?
Yeah, they do. Volumes are definitely volume increased. Like, I think whether I liked it or not, I was a real low volume warrior 2 years ago. I think that my arms just needed a bit more, a bit more across the week. I think I was probably going a little bit too low, which kind of kept them, just in line with the rest of my body, or maybe a little bit below, rather than progressing. So definitely just increased my volume. I literally just tagged a set on. Instead of 2, I did 3, and I did that extra across the week. So I ended up about 4 or 5 sets extra a week. And then just thinking, actively training them rather than sticking them on the end. Classic calves, abs, arms, just like tagging them on the end. And I just kind of, changed that mindset a little bit, and thought, like, I can't be seen slacking. And that's the same for my calves and my abs, really. Like, I've since I kind of made that, like, you can't let anything slip in a bodybuilding game, because those weak points will shine out. And years of neglecting something like that, like, it showed on my physique. They just withered away and died when I got lean, So I had to change my focus, and that's 100% had the biggest impact.
Do you still logbook your arm training? Like, I know you mentioned, obviously, me and AJ spoke about this actually, I think a couple of weeks ago. Like, I don't particularly logbook I do logbook it, but I'm not really bothered if I regress or progress as much as other lifts, for example. Are you the same? Do you focus on more of a internal feel, or are you looking to still beat logbook numbers, as well as making sure you feel it as well?
I do the logbook. I definitely do the logbook across every single set. It's just something that I just do. I don't know. I think where it is just a weakness for me, and it's probably always going to be a weakness, because I just don't have the insertions to have big juicy arms, basically. Like, I can't afford to slip on it, and I know that I can regress so easily by just not consciously progressing them, especially with my arms, because they're just whatever weak for whatever reason. Like, I just fall behind. So it does help me quite a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I thought so. Because when it comes to, like, for example, even when I was looking at AJ, you sent me through a front double bicep, and I was like, oh my God, mate, your arms. What have you been doing? And, it's very...
By the way, Josh, don't worry.
No, they've improved. They're not shit. They're improved. But, yeah, I mean, I've always asked questions about whether you should I mean, arm training, and I've been actually going away from the logbook more now with my arm training, focus on actually feeling it instead of like, yeah, I mean, I could curl a 25 kilo dumbbell, but it doesn't really do much for my arms. I don't really feel it at the end of the set. But, you know, if I grab a set of 10s, 12 and a halves and curl it, and, you know, I feel it a lot more. So, yeah, I mean, yes, I think there's an element of getting stronger, of course, but I think feeling the actual exercise itself is really important. What do you feel like, for example, like, let's say a narrow bench for your triceps, you know, dipping, that sort of stuff? Do you believe that that is the building blocks to build dense arms? Or do you believe that, you know, working on actual curls, isolation movements, is that more of a focus for building those arms?
Obviously, I think you need a combination of both. But if I'm honest, like, I'm very much how much deliverable volume can you give that, like, that muscle, you know? So if you just happen to get really a fucking gnarly pumping connection in an elbow supported overhead cuffed curl, like extension, then so be it. That is what it is. But if you come off a close grip bench and you think, nah, I've got a big old tricep pump, like, for me, a close grip bench, it's probably going to hurt my wrists. It's probably going to hurt my pec as well, because it's quite awkward for me to do for whatever reason, because my arms, you know. But so for me, I wouldn't be able to do that. A dip, like, you can come off if you've got big triceps, like, stick with it. So for me, I think, like, I'm an isolation man. I do love a machine. I do love isolations. I do just love, like, a really fixed environment, and I feel like I get that mind to muscle focus on it a lot more. But I also do compound, so I couldn't say whether one works better than the other. Do you know what I mean?
Is that also something you've done with your arm training, like, since there's been a focus? Have you really brought it down to movements? You've only selected movements that you can connect with, like, obviously, you know, like, things like for back training, I think maybe there's an argument that some exercises, there doesn't have to be a crazy internal feel. But do you think with arm training that every exercise, internal feel should be a prerequisite of choosing that movement?
I think so. I try and pick my entire workout based off that, if I'm honest. Like, I will have, if I have an issue with a back exercise, which I've actually been having one, and I just can't get that, like, gnarly pump, that gnarly feel in the bottom of my lat, like, I'm probably just not going to do that exercise. You know, I tend to do that for everything. More specifically arms, like, I stay away from any fixed bars so I can really fucking curl in there. The standard stuff. But yeah, definitely just isolations and the ones that I can connect with, for sure.
Awesome. I have some questions away from training. Have you got anything you want to ask training related, George?
No, I've covered that. I've got a question I want to ask as well.
All right. So first of all, obviously you mentioned, like, the frequency thing with the training and, like, a few niggles you picked up, but I want to know, like, whether you've got any, and, like, honest answer in terms of, like, whether you've got any fear of the prep itself. Have you got anything at all that you're concerned about, whether it's a niggle that's irritating you at the moment, or show not going ahead? Is there any fear going into this prep at all?
No, I don't have anything. The one thing that's playing in, the one thing that will probably play in my head is just probably my blood work, because I do know that, like, I'm killing myself, like, and I'm about to go into, like, a higher period of it, a higher period of use. And if I'm brutally honest, like, my blood work is not, like, it's not optimal right now. It's not in a place where it probably should be for a prep.
Okay.
But because of the situation I'm in, because of the place that I'm in, because of what I do, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You know, like, it for me, it's acceptable to do it. But I know that where I'm going to probably end up after this is going to be a place where I'm probably going to be a bit like, you know, like, still should have done it, but I probably shouldn't have done it, type thing.
Okay.
And I think that's the one thing. That's the one and only thing. And actually, before that day, I got my results, like, literally yesterday. I had not a care in the world. I was mentally in the best place, physically, like, niggles wise, you know, everything wise. So that's the only thing, raw and honest, right there.
Fair play.
You think you're gonna? I'm not saying you're gonna regret that at all, but how can I word this without sounding like a twat?
You say how you want. I know you don't mean that.
Like, obviously, you you have, like, for example, a lot of people following you, and that obviously puts, especially when you've gone assisted, you probably have a lot more people give you, questions about gear, doing this, doing that, and probably you're quite surprised. I didn't know you was on gear, sort of like, look. But do you feel like, especially as you are responsible for quite a lot, of influencers and stuff like that, do you feel like that's kind of, I don't know how to word it. I don't know if you know where I'm getting at there, but you just being an influencer and you coming out, yeah, my brother, right, but I've just gone for it. Do you think, matey boy down the road was going, Josh has fucking done it. I'm going to do it myself. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, no, of course. And that's the great area of this whole scenario, like talking about any type of drug, any type of thing that's considered taboo. Like it's a gray area. And like, while I do feel a responsibility to educate and hopefully to stop people from doing really ridiculous things, I like to be honest, and it doesn't sit right with me if I'm not. And like I'll go through the blood work on a video. Like, I'm not gonna hide it away from everyone so they can't know. Like, I'll show them and say, look, this is not a place where you want to be. Like, granted, I'm trying making it sound like a lot worse than it is. Like, it's just gonna get worse, is what I mean. It's not like, oh my god, this is awful, but I know it's gonna get worse, so I've got to preempt that. But I think that some people need to see the harsh realities of it, because I think that people don't, like, I don't feel anything. I feel fine. I feel fucking great. Every day I feel fine. But you look at the blood, like, my kidneys are under stress, under a lot of stress. But I don't feel that. I don't feel any of that. And I think that people need to see the raw honesty that this is where bodybuilding can take you sometimes. It takes you down a darker route, and it takes you down a route that's going to potentially hurt you more. And that's like a competitive sport for me. People won't agree with my opinion, but I'm here to take a pro card, which means nothing to some people, but it means everything to me, and I'm willing to put some things on the table for that. Do you know what I mean? But that's where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah, go on, AJ. I know you.
I think, to be honest, just to add my thoughts on that, I think it does show your desire for your goal, and if you're the right person, that's the right person following you, they should be able to put two and two together in that circumstance and think that, yes, it's stupid and 95% of people maybe shouldn't do it. 95% of people shouldn't probably use PEDs, like, unless they've got a really, really, really strong goal like you have, let's be honest. But, I think if they're able to put those two and two together, then I think you're very right in sharing it, because it does actually just show how much desire you have to achieve the end goal. And at the end of the day, like, all sports, all elite sports are going to take some element of being reckless.
100%. Also, like, I thoroughly back the human body to bounce back. I back myself. I've seen myself be worse than this. I've seen myself be better than this. I know that I'm going to bounce back. It's just like, I know that the next 6 months I'm going to have a little black mark on my schedule when I look back at things. But it is what it is.
Are you in the type of mindset in regards to, like, life itself, Josh? When you think of life, do you think of it as like you'd rather live a shorter life, but a life that's absolutely on the limiter, or are you about longevity in the same sort of tone? Like, it's a hard one to answer, I know, but
it is a hard one, because if I'm honest, like, I am hugely into, like, longevity and trying to live forever. Like, I truly don't want to die. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really don't want to. Like, I fear that shit. But I know that, like, what I'm doing is completely hypocritical, and I've got this irk with bodybuilding. I need to scratch this itch, or whichever way it is, before I can call myself quits with it. And that's going to take a little bit of a hit. But like I said, like, I think that I can change my life around once the drugs are out of the system and that part of my life is done. Whether or not that's going to be forever or not, I don't know.
It's kind of like you're compensating, sort of thing. You're being a bit extreme right now, but in the future, I've listened. Obviously, I listen to your podcasts, and I think one you mentioned about, how, when you are gonna finish with bodybuilding, you're gonna, completely take out, well, not completely take out protein, but, drop it right down, become more. So you kind of like almost kind of compensate later on in your life, where a lot of people, when they're older, they get a little bit lazier to an extent, maybe food choices aren't. So, for me, that makes total sense, be a little bit extreme now and then kind of make up for it a little bit later to an extent. But I'm the exact same. I use this term. It's the worst term ever. I'd rather live like a tiger for like 30 years than a bloody ant for like 80 years. You know, like when I'm like 90 and things like that, like I'm going to be sitting there waiting to die. It's boring. You know, I want to look back on my life and go, fuck yeah, I did this, I did that. You know, so I can totally relate to that. I like that. I was going to ask you about the good old cannabis. Now, I know obviously you're a fan of it. You sent me through a photo earlier, which is quite funny. What's your stance on that in a prep? Are you going to use it as a tool? Are you going to potentially bring it out? Because obviously, you know, when you start smoking, you know, hormones are just like, okay, where's the fucking food? That sort of thing. Oh, you're the type of person that's quite regimented and say, no, I'm not going to do that because you've got your head switched on. But, you know, there are moments where I sit there and go, oh, you know, I could eat something dangerous here. What's just your thoughts on that in a prep? You know, are you going to take it out? What's your plans with that?
For me, like, I don't think anything's really going to change. I just use it as and when in my life. I don't like a prep goal. Like I wouldn't just like eat some food because I've got the munchies or anything, you know. Like I've been, and not to talk too much about it, but like I smoked for like a decade nearly, you know, so I'm 28, so I've been smoking for a long time. Like I'm sort of used to everything that you can be thrown at with smoking a joint. So yeah, it just, nothing's going to change. It doesn't really affect me too much. I'm just not going to eat the food if I'm hungry. That's literally it.
When do you smoke, time wise? You smoke in the afternoon, don't you? You don't smoke before you go to bed.
No, I morning, lunch, and dinner. Yeah, literally morning, lunch, and dinner. When I'm on the way to the gym, when I'm back from the gym, before I get to bed.
I never knew that about you. How do you like? People tell me smoke a joint before you go to the gym. I couldn't think of anything worse.
You should the connection you can get to it though, like on a muscular level when you're in that zone. You don't have too much. A little bit of pre-workout. Caffeine and cannabis work well in synergy. So I'm just saying, no one listens to us take that advice though.
No, I'm just generally asking because I'm sure you get people ask you about bloody cannabis. You show it and like, oh, do you get the munchies? And I'm thinking, I'm just an adult. Like, I can just say no.
Exactly.
Food. But yeah, I mean, obviously a little bit, cannabis is a funny one, especially as a natural. I mean, when I was on prep, especially towards the latter stage of it, I took it out completely because, you know, we get drug tested. Well, I could have got drug tested. And I don't want to get caught with that things. But with yourself, you know, it's nothing. Nothing changes. You know, you don't need to take it out. You're not going to get caught or anything like that. It's not anything bad. So I just thought I'd ask. And what is your general opinion on? Obviously, you've answered this probably about 100 times already, but for the people that don't know, what's your thoughts on bodybuilding and cannabis? Because it can be looked at like especially for me, when people have already slandered me, even on this podcast, the first one. And I feel like if you're not smoking, you don't understand, if that makes sense. A lot of people kind of understand. Like people say, George, you're not professional and stuff like that. That's not why I smoke. And I'm sure, you know, that's not, you smoke to relax. You smoke to kind of, like, for me, I take my mind off things. It's just it's just like a hobby as well. But what's your general thoughts on like bodybuilding and cannabis as well?
Yeah, I don't think there's cannabis is one of the things that's for some people. It's not for other people. Some people have had their time with it. Some people don't react well with it. Some people really, really don't react well with it. Some people are fine with it. So more than bodybuilding cannabis, it's just you and you and cannabis. Are you the right person for it? If you are, then is it going to affect your bodybuilding? You know, in what way? Are you going to be that person who eats? Are you going to, it's got to be who you are as a person. But as a synergy, like for me, like I don't want to sit here and encourage it because it's not something that you got to make these decisions yourself. But for me, like I don't want to go out and drink with my friends. I want to just be chilled at home, playing a game, having a conversation, and with that, it's much more sociable. I don't have to, you know, lose loads of calories. I don't have to lose my sleep. I can just, everything is perfect, you know. And it's like a little bit of a devil's itch, you know, a little bit of a down the dark path, like, and it's not just going to absolutely ruin me for the next day. So I don't think there's, you know, it just depends if you're on it if you're that type of person. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not talking about any more cannabis because people fucking no.
So I wanted to ask a little bit about business? Because very business orientated, you've got your fingers in a lot of pies. It's very exciting for you at the moment. I wanted to ask about this year in terms of your goals outside of becoming a professional athlete. Where is your primary focus now, Josh? Like, what do you see becoming the biggest version of yourself in terms of business? Is it down the route of 1MR? Is it down other routes? What are you truly most invested in at the moment, as a whole?
Yeah, I don't know about most invested, but definitely like I want to build. I want to build 1MR into something, you know, in the UK that people recognize, into that movement, that mindset, everything that you guys see me post and talk about. Like, I want to bring that to the masses, and in the form of some damn good clothing, by the way. And like, I really do want to bring that. Like, I know that a brand always has the potential to be bigger than a person, you know, me being that person. Granted, I'm going to help that brand grow, especially in the early phases. Like, I do want to become, and I think I've dissociated myself straight away, which is decent. I do want to grow that bigger and bigger and bigger away from myself. But, you know, as well as that, like, I want to build my own brand, because I know that a lot's going to come through that. Coaching comes through that. Opportunities through sponsorships come through that. So I don't, like, I couldn't focus on one thing. I haven't got attention span for one thing. It has to be multiple things, and constantly just trying to think of the next thing to do. So at the moment, I do really, really want to build 1MR. Like, I'm just on my feet in this prep for the next 5-6 days. Once I'm in 2 weeks, like, I'm going to sit down and make the next moves for the online coaching business, you know, for, you know, sponsorships, things like that. So keep moving that way.
With your coaching at the moment, do you see yourself doing that in the long run? Do you see yourself doing that in 5-10 years time? Because someone asked me that the other day, and I did have to have a genuine think about it, because I love coaching, you know, I'm sure you're aware of that, but I don't know how I'll feel in 5-10 years time of doing it for another, because we've been, I think, coaching for a very similar time period. And so where do you see yourself 5-10 years time in terms of like the balance between these businesses and these routes and paths you're going down?
Yeah. I'd like to think by that time I would have a huge brand. A huge brand,
Yeah.
which is going to help a lot more people than I can through coaching, you know, on a wide scale. And I feel like that's what I always felt like about YouTube was. It's the people that I couldn't coach. It's the people that couldn't afford coaching. It's the people that didn't want coaching. Maybe they could still educate themselves through that. So I'm hoping that I've just got a huge, you know, well, I'm going to make that huge, big brand that can, you know, help motivate, inspire people, educate people on a level, you know, and I'm hoping that my time's so full, I don't have time to have online coaches, because there's more people out there that I can hit at one time. Maybe next 5 years, I still want to be coaching, because I think in 5 years is pretty short, because I still thoroughly see myself in bodybuilding. I think when I'm bodybuilding still, I probably want to be coaching it. I quite enjoy doing the process of bodybuilding while coaching bodybuilding. Yeah. And then maybe after that, we'll see. But it's hard to say. I always think those questions are real hard, don't you? Like, when someone says, where do you see yourself in 10 years? It's like, yeah. I think like 10 years ago, things were crazy different, or even 5 years ago, you know? So I think that time span's so difficult to say something over.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's crazy difficult to answer.
I was going to ask you about, just because I noticed we have a lot of people that are, you know, want to inspire to be potentially AJ, maybe me, maybe yourself. So I know you've got a big platform on YouTube, big platform on Instagram. You know, you've worked with a load of different companies, and big companies too, you know, like Gymshark, Alphalete, etc. What's, you know, how, especially now when it's very saturated, everyone's a coach, everyone wants to be an influencer, everyone's fucking doing YouTube now. What would you say to someone who's looking to start out and go, look, I want to be you, Josh. How am I going to get there?
Very difficult question. I would say it's really difficult, but I think the biggest thing for me is sort of being who you want to be from the start. I think that's I've seen a lot of people, a lot of influencers change over time, and their audience either gets lost, or maybe they started off someone that they didn't want to be, and they kind of got lost in that. So I always think like the people who I feel like do well are the ones who are the realists, and the ones who you have a conversation with them, or you hear them talk, and there's no like tone of fakeness. You don't get that kind of, you can pick up the ones who are bullshitting, can't you? Really, everyone can do that if they've got some kind of mouse on them. So I feel like just being real. I think trying to find something unique. I think even in like you said, how saturated it is. I think I'm lucky and that I've got here now because I started 5 years ago. You know, if I'd started now and waited 5 years, I don't think I'd be this far along. Even if I'm not that far along, but you know, I think it would be less because it's so saturated. And I don't think necessarily that I'm any more unique than other people. I think maybe I've been doing it longer and I got there earlier. But you know, the people who are getting there quick these days are coming up with some, you know, either some comedy genius or some educational, you know, unbelievable educational content. Or so I think it is increasingly harder, but you've got to just put increasingly more effort into it. I think it's difficult. It's very, very difficult.
A whole podcast on that topic for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I find, for example, you know, yourself, yes, you might not have like 200,000 subscribers, but the audience that you have is, you know, you have a lot of people that engage with you. It's not just this random mate boy off the street. It's someone that engages with you, knows you. And I'm sure if they came up to you in the street, they could tell you about everything about yourself and what you do. And that's one thing which I would probably rather, and I'm sure you're probably the same, have a smaller following but better engagement in terms of like interaction, you know, people watching stories, than this fucking big following. And it's just these people that you don't even know. It's these random people like follow, I don't know who, I'm not going to use anyone as an example, but you know, I would rather the smaller platform. I think that's the biggest thing I see a lot of people is they try and follow these bigger influencers when really they should just be themselves, post about what they do within their day and just crack on and do it for a long time. Because realistically, you know, you've been doing it for YouTube for God knows how long.
Long time.
It's never going to reward, you know, the amount of work, the amount of effort, the amount of money you've spent on cameras, videographers, editing, the time you've sat at your desk. It's never going to reward. And I feel like, you know, people look at that and think, you know what, when it comes to them editing or uploading a video, they think, fuck this, I've only got 10 views and half of it's my family. I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
But you kind of need to, you know, you need to kind of push through that sort of boundary. And I think like that's what you've done really well. Like me right now with the YouTube, I've just gone, you know what, I'm getting demonetized. I'm not earning any money from it till fuck it, because it takes so much time. I can't be bothered. Mm-hmm. Whereas yourself, you've just, and this is my fault for that, is I need to do exactly what you've done and just be consistent, regardless of whether the views go down a little bit or the engagement's lower. You got to keep going. And I feel like you do that very, very well. And I do that shit.
I appreciate it. No, those periods of downtime and engagement, like that actually, like, it's a weird feeling that you never would have had 10 years ago. Like you have a prep and you're like, fuck, I got so many likes on these photos. And then you finish and then, okay, maybe like the reverse because you look so good. And then like 4 weeks later, you're like, what am I doing wrong? You know, why are these likes 1,000 less? And it's like, it's just a visual thing, you know, but once you've been through that, like up and down so much, like you learn that it doesn't make a difference whether you're at 50,000 people or 1,000 people. You're going to have that dip, but you're also going to have that come up as well. So it is like sticking with it, literally.
With, for example, you know, prepping and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a good opportunity. Like for me, it was great because I was able to, and AJ as well. You know, your YouTube channel blew up from, you know, posting your prep series. But do you get like a little bit like, for example, I don't know, like, is it really, especially with being assisted, is it contagious to just kind of push it a little bit more? You know, I'll prep next year because I know I'm going to get more views and we get potentially more customers with my brand, and that's going to enable me. Is it tempting sometimes, you know, especially when you can push things like you can, just to go, you know what, I'll push it a little bit more because I know I'm going to get the engagement and I know that's going to be more money. But
I think honestly, like for me, bodybuilding comes first. Like the IFBB code comes first. I always said I couldn't do a 10,000 cheat day calorie because I've got 4,300 calories to eat. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to do 10 when I've got to do 4.5. Like I'm not going to do a prep here because I'm just going to look good for YouTube. I've never done that. It's always been bodybuilding first. I think that's helped me. Just being like bodybuilding's first. Like YouTube videos can wait because like I have some YouTubers who I coach and they're like, you know, I need to do this prep for a video. I'm like, you could be so much better if you didn't care about that. Do you know what I mean? You'd be so much better if you invested in the long term. So you know, like taking those years off, like for social media are rubbish. Those 2 year off seasons, they're not good. Like you can obviously do well out of it, but they're not good. So yeah, bodybuilding's always come first. I've been headstrong on that from the start. I had bodybuilding before social media, so that's lucky for me.
It can get a little bit contagious when you see those views go up and you think,
Yeah.
then you start stupid shit. Like,
I'm too paranoid though. I'm such a paranoid person. Like we say that after talking about weed a minute ago. No, like I'm like I care too much about my health. I really do. I really do care about my health. You know, everything that I do from the blood work to the cycles I take, they're all with health in mind into consideration. So I couldn't keep creeping it in, I don't think.
100%. Should we do some?
Just to comment on that, I think that just proves the authentic nature of your content, mate, and that's something that's always that I've always looked up to massively. And to sort of talk about what George was talking about there, about sort of like, you know, other things that I think you do well with your content production is, I think the staying true to your brand identity on Instagram is something you do very, very well as well. Because I'm a massive suspect for this, is just the constant reshares and the lack of authenticity in your Instagram story, and it just starts to become a merge of other people's stories, and no one really follows that, to be honest. My story views are always the best when I follow my content and my journey, and like when I was at the end of my prep and it was literally just me sharing my stuff, it was the best it was ever at. And it's the difficulty that I find, to be honest, Josh, is like I find clients actually take it personally when I don't reshare the stuff. And that's the difficulty that I'm having at the moment, is the balancing out between someone saying, oh, you didn't put me on your story, versus me trying to stick to the brand identity that I actually want to produce on there. It's difficult.
Of course.
Do you find any difficulty with that? Because I'm sure you get plenty of tags every single day, but you don't share anything.
Yeah, I think because there was a period of time where I saw everyone was just, because it was new, like everyone was just reposting everything. How many reposts could you get? And I thought, like, I generally had a pretty good business moment. I was like, as a consumer, like I'm fucking sick of skipping through people's stories. I don't care what these people repost. I thought, I can't do it. I don't want to do that, because it takes away from the content that I want to give and the brand identity, of course, you know. Like, that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate it. That doesn't mean I don't reply to every single person that's tagged me. That doesn't mean that I don't, you know, like it and say thank you very much, because it's ridiculous they're even tagging me. But no, I've never done it from the start. So no one's been like, oh, you didn't repost me. Oh, maybe one guy, actually. I remember one guy. I'm not going to say his name though. He's quite famous, actually. Well, not famous, but he's big in the game. Yeah, it's funny. I can't say his name. I really want to, but I can't.
George, have you got any sort of finalising questions you wanted to ask Josh? I'm sure he's got meals to eat, etc., things to do. So we'll let him go in a second. Have you got any?
Covered everything. See, I listened to your podcast, mate, earlier, so I know everything. You know, I don't need to ask. I know you stack. I know what you're doing. Yeah, I'm like a little fanboy, you know.
That's why I think this podcast was good though, because we didn't ask just sort of generic questions that had already been covered potentially in the other videos. So I just genuinely wanted to have a chat, and I find these are always the best ones. Like the one with Keith is very similar. We haven't used any of the questions that we got on our stories. We've just genuinely asked you what we wanted to know. But yeah, man, we appreciate your time a lot. So we'll let you crack on. Obviously from both of us and from all our listeners, like, we appreciate you, and also best of luck with your prep. And we'll catch you soon, dude.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you. Come on.
Pleasure. See you soon.
Nice one, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
In a bit, mate.
George, do you know that noise?
I do know that noise. Oh, enjoy it, mate. Enjoy it.
So,
yeah, I will. Nice one, guys.
We'll let you crack on. See you later.
Sound boys. Bye-bye.
That was good.
Yeah, it was. I always like Josh.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Look what these were.
There he is.
I can't remember, what was he speaking about before Josh came on? Because it was like, I swear it was midway through a conversation. I can't remember.
we did speak a little bit about what I was getting up to, and then I just sort of thank people for the Kiwi podcast. I can't remember, to be honest. I was so enthralled with that podcast that I couldn't forget.
Can we finish off by talking about the teeth?
Oh yeah, we can talk about the teeth.
Tell us about that then. So
fucking white, aren't they, mate? Jesus Christ. So yeah, basically, so the Invisalign process finished, which was, so that's why they look like moderately better, because the gap was a lot less. That's why they look pretty decent in Dubai, because I pretty much finished the Invisalign in Dubai. And then my final appointment was what's called composite bonding. So it's basically just creates little edges on where the teeth would normally be like a different length. So like they're all now the same length at this top, the top whatever you call it, layer of the teeth. And then obviously you whiten them, so that's why they stick out. Like I took progress photos this morning, and I smiled in one of them, and I was like, "Fuck me!" Like, like I had a snowball in my mouth. Yeah, and they're very bright. But I'm getting used to, like, when I came back, I was like very hesitant to like smile around Loz and stuff, because I was like, they just didn't feel like normal or right. But I quite like them now, and I look back at photos of me, like selfies and stuff like that I'd taken in the past, and I never ever would smile with my mouth open, like very rarely. But on the occasions that I did have like a big gap in my front teeth. So it was always something I wanted to fix, mate. So I just thought, well, fuck it. I actually thought, fuck it, and I did it. And I inquired in November 2019 with Dr. Afan, because I wanted them done for like the show. I wanted them good for the show. So and then, like, because of the first lockdown, I didn't get my initial consult until like July, when it was meant to be in like January. So had to wait ages. If anyone's interested in Invisalign, I think it's, from what I got from it, I thought it was great. I don't know what the prices are on veneers in comparison, but I imagine it's probably fairly similar if you got it done in the UK privately. Obviously, you know, there's pros and cons of both ways, but I still have my teeth. So, you know, I don't have, you know, people shaving down my teeth or anything like that. It was a relatively natural process. The only thing with the Invisalign is that it can get painful, like some of the trays because essentially they pull your teeth in line. So some of them did hurt like quite a bit, especially the first 2 trays, which were in at like 3 weeks out from, because I got all the trays at about 3 weeks out from the show last year. So you have to take them out with every meal you eat. So that was a ball ache. So I'm glad that I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, mate, I'm really happy. Really happy.
They look really smart. I really like them, to be fair. I really, really do.
Oh, thank you, mate.
They look pearly, they look white, they look smart. Oh, let's leave it on that. Let's just leave it on me being cute, yeah?
That's very kind of you, mate. Yeah, we'll leave it on that. I'll let you go. I've got a chicken and rice meal here to eat. Not my salmon bagels. I had them earlier. So
So I've got I have 2 meals I plan a week at the moment. So either it'll be Nando's full platter, or it will be something that Nizrin's mum will cook for me. Okay. So she's cooking a chicken curry tonight, homemade. Ooh. So I know it's just going to be full of flavour. I know it's going to be, chicken's going to be proper. It's going to be organic. It's going to be halal. It's going to be from the butchers. I know the rice is going to be homemade. I know it's just going to be great. So I'm going to roll a spliff, smoke one, and then eat.
Lovely. Oh, mate, I'll leave you to it. For the listeners, as always, we appreciate you. And
tagging in stories. It's quite surprising how many people watch it. And even just on like YouTube, it's like 4,500 views on the first one. And that's just on YouTube alone. So God knows what Spotify, podcast app, iTunes, all that type of stuff is.
It's easily over 10K.
Yeah. You could probably find out, I reckon.
You can find out from SoundCloud. So I think it was like 6,000 listeners on SoundCloud.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. I can't believe it. So thank you everyone if you're still watching or listening, whatever.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. We'll chat soon.